Barney, and today I will be presenting you my senior project. Before we begin, I would like to present you a statistic. Every 14 seconds, someone leaves Syria. Excuse me, is there a mouse? Excuse me. So I'd just like you to keep that statistic in mind as we go into my presentation. So I'd like to start off with a couple background facts on Syria. Syria is located in the Middle East. It is bordered by Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, as well as Iraq. As some of you may or may not know, a civil war has broke out in Syria. It started around 2011 and was a direct result of the Arab Spring protests. Syrian civilians felt as if they wanted a democracy, and they began protesting against the current president, Bashar al-Assad. Due to this, there has been a heavy and intense increase in fighting in the past 5 years. Due to this fighting, over 4 million people have fled their country due to either political persecution or religious. As some of you may know, there is some groups such as ISIS. We also have different rebel groups. We have about 8 of them in Syria right now. We also have government forces and even some international coalition groups inside the country to this day. So for my senior project, I wanted to give back. These people have been leaving their country for the past 5 years, and what did I want to do to help? I started researching organizations back around this time of my junior year. That is when I found the New Day Syria organization, which is a New Hampshire-based organization that helps empower Syrian families, focusing on Syrian women and their children. We decided that we were going to do a pen pal group, but before I could do that, I had to go into my research. I wanted to know, how is this war affecting children? So I decided to look into how the infrastructure of Syria at the moment, they have an incredibly collapsed education system as well as health system, and in addition to their collapsed infrastructure. And how is that affecting children, and what could I do to help? This is some photos of some of my fellow peers participating in my workshop. I did both a workshop at the middle school with Mr. Peduzzi, as well as here with Mr. Gleason, who is my mentor, who I will discuss shortly on. He helped me a great amount, and this couldn't be possible without him. This was about January, and all the letters had been sent out mid-January. After this, I decided what more could I do, and why was I doing this? I had always had a profound interest for the Middle East and different cultures, and that really stood out to me. And Syria is something far different from the white suburbia that I had been brought up in, and what else could I do to learn more about it and to help the people of the Middle East? Also, I had my mentor, like I had said earlier, Mr. Mike Gleason. I was fortunate enough to have Mr. Gleason as my teacher for the past 4 years here at Westerly. I had him as a freshman in world history, and then he had encouraged me to take his Middle East classes as well as world affairs classes. And I have done that every single year since sophomore year, and that is where I really became involved and really aware of what was going on outside of our small town of Westerly, Rhode Island. Additionally, I wanted to teach the global awareness that a lot of kids do not have nowadays. I think that's a very important skill and very important for kids nowadays to have that global awareness and that realization that there is a bigger world out there. And I also wanted to break the negative and sometimes hurtful stereotypes that many kids nowadays have against Muslims or Arabs or anyone from the Middle East. My project was done, like I had said, in early January, around then. So I said, what more could I do? That is when I reached out to the Refugee Dream Center in Providence, Rhode Island. This is founder Omar Ba, who is a former refugee, torture survivor, and journalist. He is from the Gambia, which is the smallest country in Africa. I had reached out to him, and he almost served as a second mentor to me. He had given me plenty of opportunities to get involved directly with the refugee community here in Rhode Island and work directly with families that have resettled in Rhode Island. First, after I had finished, I decided, let's get more Westerly kids involved. So we took one of the humanities classes here. It is an English and a social studies class combined into one. and we took them to the refugee center in Providence, and we had a little meet and greet with various refugees. They were from Somalia, Rwanda, Iraq, and various other countries, and we had a little question and answer period and a social hour to teach kids here the kind of combat the misconception that many people have against refugees. Later on in the year, I have attended many pro-refugee rallies and organization and events. This is one from around February. I was at the State House there. We got wind of a couple legislators and government individuals who were spewing some hateful rhetoric towards refugees. And our goal isn't to sway your political opinion or have you change your beliefs. It's to have you aware and preach acceptance and love for these people, because in reality they're just like you and I. This is the first Syrian family that has come to Rhode Island. This is the Ghazala family. They are from Aleppo, Syria, which is the largest city in Syria, and it is heavily engulfed by fighting, and that is when they fled. They fled 2.5 years ago and fled to Turkey. That is where they had stayed for 2.5 years until they were granted refugee status, and they were on their way to Rhode Island. That is when I met them. I met them about late February, early March, and they've been here since. They actually had just moved, and they had actually just had their 5th child, and it's such a beautiful thing to be accepted into this family's home and in their family. Lastly, we had another field trip to the refugee center. This time I took World Affairs classes from both Mr. Gleason and another World Affairs teacher. This was older kids, this was mostly juniors and seniors. And again, we had more families. Since then, we have had about 3 or 4 families come and relocate in Rhode Island as far as Syrians go. We do have a larger community of refugees, such as Rwanda, Somalia, and Sierra Leone. A lot of Congolese, a lot of different countries have meshed into the Rhode Island community. My roadblocks. Originally, I started this around June of my junior year, and finding an organization was very hard. A lot of people do not work directly in Syria due to the fighting, and it's a dangerous thing to have organizations work directly with the people. So when I found New Day Syria, she is a Syrian national, but she also has citizenship here, and she has lived here for many years. And that is when she told me that she has direct contact within the country. Something that we had worked on prior to our refugee program is our pen pal program is we had sent donations directly into the country, and that is something that I've done throughout the year. The organization works on sending 40-foot long shipping containers directly into sieged areas where a lot of humanitarian aid cannot reach. Additionally, there is a language barrier. Many of the people here that I've worked with do not speak English. They all speak Arabic, Farsi, or Turkish, so that has inspired me to take up Arabic. I've taken up Arabic as an independent study. I got that approved around the beginning of the 2nd semester, and I've been learning that throughout the course of these past couple months. I also plan on furthering that as I go on to college next year. Additionally, I had a lot of cultural barriers. I had never really met any Syrians, any Arabs, any Muslims. A lot of the cultural shock, it was different to me and it was different to them coming into this country. And it was very different as they accepted me into their home and working with these people. It is something that I had never experienced before, but it's something that I'm very glad that I had. Arab hospitality is one of the best. Syrian hospitality is out of this world. My learning stretch. Organizing field trips. I had never organized an event before. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of signatures, a lot of everything needed. That was something I really worked towards. I had planned 2. I had also had a guest speaker, a former refugee, come to Wesley High School, and he had spoken to a World Affairs class about the refugee process and the negative misconceptions that many people have. Additionally, I had my refugee process that I didn't know much about, and it's a reality that many people do not know about it either, the legal process and how everything works. So that was something that I'm now proud that I can educate others on that. Additionally, I had my communication skills, which is something that has strengthened, especially in a second language now. My takeaways. I have a new cultural awareness and appreciation for not only Arab culture, but specifically Syrian culture. Then I have my Arabic. I never thought in a million years I would be learning Arabic in my senior year of high school and wanting to pursue it in college and go on and do this more and more. And this project has let me know that this is what I want to do. And when I began, I never knew that the refugee process was going to blow up as it had, as we had seen that summer. And it was something that I didn't do it for me, I did it for others. And through this process, I have made so many new friendships. I've met people from Syria, people from Iraq, people from Pakistan, people from Iran, people from the Gambia, people from Rwanda. Everywhere across the globe I've met and made new friends. By the time that I have done presenting, 60 people have become refugees. As I had stated earlier, every 14 seconds someone leaves Syria. And by the time that I've completed talking to you all, 60 people have left Syria and become refugees. And with the skills and the friendships that I've made, I hope to help these 60 people, or the 600 people, or the 60,000 people. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have a question, but it's amazing what you're doing. It's really,
Thank you.
really wonderful.
I'm the world cultures teacher at the middle school, so maybe next year you can come back and be a guest speaker for my kids. 'Cause
I would love that.
I would love for them to hear the story.
I would love that. And it's one of the things that Omar Ba, who is the founder of the Refugee Center, he has expressed to me, is that he goes, Mallory, you're going off to college next year. I don't want this connection between Westerly schools and our refugee community to break. I want you to still bridge that relationship. And that's something I'm going to URI in the fall, and I'm commuting, so I still plan on having that connection with Westerly and the Refugee Center.
We'll have to sit down and
Yes.
chat.
How big is the refugee center?
It's not the best dimensions. It's actually an old DARE building, so they share that with another organization, DARE. And it's probably, you have about the size of this room for their main room. They have about 2 offices and maybe another smaller room which they do ESL classes in.
The family that you had on the screen that you met, where are they in Rhode Island?
They're in Providence.
There we are.
Mhm. Any more questions? Alrighty, thank you so much for listening. I'm glad
Thank you.
that you have all come out today and let me speak about what I'm really passionate about and what I love doing. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.